Good evening. Welcome to the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, I just want the Democrat Party, I just want to start out just talking to you for a minute and just help you to understand that we will not forget 75 million people who voted for President Donald J. Trump will not forget what you're doing right now at this time, Biden administration. We see now that obviously President Trump was right. We see now that the Biden administration has already begun the destruction of programs and policies that aided and protected the American people. Let's see if he goes after the 10-year funding for the historic black colleges. The former President Obama refused to even help the people. He made them come back every year like a pilgrimage back to him so that he could have a show of power showing that, hey, I'm in charge. I got the money, which is a bunch of lies because the money belongs to the taxpayers. But they would not support him, and I'm sure he only supported him very little. President Trump set up 10 years of funding. Let's hope he don't try to attack that. Okay. This year is requiring them constantly to come back, as I said earlier. Will Biden destroy the opportunity zones for small businesses? A lot of that President Trump did was for the American people. It wasn't for his own good, giving them a voice. And I heard something recently, and I didn't even realize this, but President Trump donated the majority of his salary, all of his salary, to helping out the military, the veterans that needed help, were amputees and different things like that. He funded some of those organizations through his salary. But the Democrats, don't care if it was set up for the American people. All they care is that the Trump administration has brought it into play. So now the Biden administration, which I've really never seen this before, is seeking to tear down everything the President Donald J. Trump has set up. Operation Warp Speed, which brought us COVID-19 vaccines faster than ever before. Vaccines normally would take 5 to 10 years to get done. Some Democrat-covered governors are intentionally withholding vaccines from certain areas to create a power struggle. Did you know, now this is something you will not hear in the mainstream media, but I heard it from some medical professionals. Only 94 to 99% of people who contract COVID-19 recover or survive. 94% to 99%. So we know that those numbers they're touting constantly about 400,000, something like that, a lot of them are lies. Those are all the deaths in this country, not just COVID-19. And the CDC themselves said ahead of time there was only 10% of the actual deaths that occurred during that period of time. So the mainstream media will not tell you that, but I heard it from the medical community firsthand. Those of you who are in charge of the administrations at the hospitals. We who stand up for our constitutional rights need to make sure we are speaking out. We almost have to be police over those who are in charge of us or govern us in different cities and states around the country. We have to fight against injustice. I say that because during the November election, you had people in different states changing the rules at the last minute and doing things that were unconstitutional, which our Supreme Court, a bunch of wimps, did not even want to hear the cases because they didn't want to stand up for the rights of the American people. How sad this state is in right now, where people are charged with holding our constitutional rights, are afraid to stand up to provide a free and fair election to the American people. Free speech is being violated as well on a daily basis through social media And nothing will happen until a Democrat politician is attempted to be canceled, which means like kind of remove you from everything, like they try to do with President Donald J. Trump. But of course, we can give you his site here on this channel. He's still up and he's still speaking to the Trump supporters. Now, Dianne Feinstein, she stood up for Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Hawley involving the Electoral College vote irregularities. She's taking a risk right there. Social media might close her account or shut her down, or they may try to cancel her because she stayed on the side of the Republican Party. Those who are defending our President Donald J. Trump from all these sham impeachment charges that they continue to bring up even after the man is gone. That garbage should have been dropped out, shouldn't have been here. I still speak to the Senate and tell them, y'all need to just let this mess go. They're supposed to gather together, I guess, I don't know, is it not until after this Friday or maybe this Friday. But y'all need to just let that mess go and stop trying to keep President Trump from rerunning for office again. That's what you're trying to do. The American people are not stupid. We know what you're trying and attempting to do. You all know that Joe Biden did a quid pro quo. He did it in public view, clear public view. We didn't tell him to do it. He came out and said himself that he had withheld $1 billion from the Ukraine if they didn't fire a prosecutor. The Biden is messing with the wrong people. He's starting to mess with Israel right now. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with you here in a moment on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. The Biden administration is starting to mess with things dealing with Israel. And I warned you before, a few years ago, I wrote in one of my articles in the magazine a few years ago, if you start messing with Israel, God is going to protect Israel. You can do whatever you want. You know, when Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton started playing games and messing with Israel, when they were in the White House, we started having catastrophes all over the country, crazy things. Hurricanes popping up in states, tornadoes in places where they're not supposed to be. Don't mess with God's people. I'm sorry. Even though we're Christians, God chose the Israelites. Those were his people. President Trump's policies were pro-Israel. This is a quote from him. He was good. A quote from one of the people in the there was in the Israeli government, or not government, one of the citizens. He said he was a good for Israel. He did nice things for us. He gave towards us not like any other president. He came towards us not like any other president in the past, said Alon Sender, a Petah Tiva resident. He goes on to say, we will miss him, but hopefully Biden will be as good for Israel as Trump was. I'm sorry, Alon, but we already know that's not going to happen because they hated Israel before and they still hate Israel, and they hate Donald Trump for even trying to support you. This is the country we live in here. The U.S. State Department has not yet commented on the temporary name change. They tried to change the name. This is what we're talking about here. Let me see if I get this here. They tried to change the name of the ambassador's Twitter account for the U.S. they changed the name for a short period of time until they got fired lit under them on Twitter and also with the Israeli government. They wanted to change the name to U.S. ambassador to Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza, an account which indicated they would not respect Israel's sovereignty. This is our new presidential administration, the Biden administration. They tried to switch this to cause problems with Israel and those that are in the West Bank and Gaza. The U.S. ambassador to Israel on the Twitter account still remains the U.S. ambassador to Israel. President Biden, I'm warning you right now. You better leave it alone. You don't mess with God's people. You might think they're God's people. Keep messing with them. See what happens. Going back to what I was talking about before I ended my opening, Senator Dianne Feinstein defends Senator Josh Hawley and Senator from Texas, Sen.Cruz, amid Democrats who have called for Hawley and Cruz to be ousted from the Senate. Give me a freaking break. Dianne Feinstein gave a surprising defense of GOP Senate Josh Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, and Senate Sen.Cruz, Republican from Texas. What I tell you, watch out. There's some people on the Democrat Party or in the Democrat Party, even though they have control, there's some that sees the foolishness of the radical side of the Democrat Party. She told reporters Tuesday she supports Hawley and Cruz objection to the Electoral College vote count earlier this month. Quote, the Senate is a place of freedom, she said. Feinstein said people come to speak their piece. She said it. It is important that people can express free speech and have dialogue. Yet we have some radicals in the Democrat Party that want to prevent free dialogue. What foolishness. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Georgia representative in Congress, stands up for the conservative values on Capitol Hill. Freshman lawmaker, businesswoman, and mother is standing for American ideals in her first week as a U.S. representative for Georgia's 14th congressional district. Quote, America is the greatest country in the world, she says. We need conservatives in Washington that will keep it that way. Greene stated. She goes on to, I'm running to stop gun control, open borders, and Green New Deal and socialism. She wants to protect your Second Amendment rights. So remember, when she comes up for re-election next year, not next year, year after next, go out and vote for her and put her back into office. Well, we're going to take a short break right now. We'll be right back with you here in a moment on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Biden re-entered the Paris Climate Accord. What foolishness. I believe he did it to, of course, once again, it's all about the Benjamins, to put money back in the Democrat Party pocket. It's all about money, people. A lot of the stuff that they got done, even during these last elections, was with the fact that people had more money. They had people coming in this Georgia election, money coming from California, all over the darn country, to make sure that they got those Senate seats. Well, I got news for you, Democrat Party. Watch out. There's some surprises in your party and I heard about this before, I'm going to have to bring it up again, but there's some people in your party, as well as the Republican Party, that wants peace. They want dialogue. They don't want all this, you shut up, we talking. No, they don't want that. And there's some out there who are going to stick by that. They're calling for peace in the houses, in the representatives and the House of the Senate. The Paris Accord was not, this is a quote from President Donald J. Trump of the previous administration. The Paris Accord was not designated to save the environment. It was designed to kill the American economy. Now, this is something that President Biden just re-entered, people. What did I tell you? They hate the American people. They want us to go down. Especially, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. President Trump previously stated, he also said they refused to surrender millions of American jobs and send trillions of American dollars to the world's worst polluters and environmental offenders, unquote. He also is allowing illegal immigrants to be included in census to do what? And I told you this before, President Trump told you this as well. He would pack the Congress, giving increase to those that they have running for Congress, creating extra seats that are not representative of people who are legal immigrants here into America. If they're counted in the census, that means the numbers, funding, and everything else will go to those cities and states involving this sham of just allowing anybody to come in and be counted as one of our citizens. They're not citizens. If they're illegals, they don't need to be counted as citizens. This will just create the burden, increase the burden on the American people. Because if they're not citizens, then who's tracking them? Are they going to pay taxes? They might pay taxes to go in the store, but a lot of them don't pay taxes like we pay taxes. Yet they're receiving the same thing that we're receiving. Thanks, President Biden. The Democrats also signed an order repealing President Trump's 1776 commission, which was to plan to teach children about the great parts of American history. Let me tell you something. This is something that is a known fact. If you go back and look at your history books, not the history books that these people are trying to place in schools, but the actual history that was written during those times. When slave owners wanted to control the slaves, they restricted them from reading books. They wouldn't allow them to read any books. They wouldn't allow them to have nothing. The Democrats want to change this country into a communist country. They're saying that this country is systemically racist. And I say that they are the systemic racists. But here they are right here with this thing that they're trying to appeal to keep our children from learning about the true America which all of us grew up in. What foolishness. I told you just yesterday not to trust Google. They're adjusting facts. They're changing numbers and everything else. Just like I've told you in the past, the Democrat Party did not want the Civil Rights Act. Yet, if you check Google right now, they switched the numbers between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, showing that the Republicans were against that they were against, they probably did on the Emancipation Proclamation too, against the Civil Rights Act, which is a freaking big lie. The Democrat Party started an 83-day filibuster started by a white supremacist by the name of Robert C. Byrd. Yet if you go try to find that right now, they'll tell you that he was identified with the Klan. They'll tell you all that, but then they'll still try to flip the numbers. They flip them and try to say that the Democrats were the one who wanted the Civil Rights Act, which is the biggest lie I've ever heard. Especially since they did the same garbage that Nancy Pelosi did even back then. This is a pattern, people. And as far as I can see, according to whatever crazy Nancy said herself, she said that if this is associated with our country and the things that were wrong, like the enslavement and stuff like that, that the Congress needs to change, the Democrats need to change their party name. I'm waiting for that to happen. They should no longer be Democrats. because their party was behind and against the Civil Rights Act. They were behind the fight against the Emancipation Proclamation. Did you know that the country during the earlier part of the 20th century, that they will tell you this, they don't tell you this, there was still, and Oprah Winfrey, she found this out, there were still black slaves even that were not set free on the Emancipation Proclamation. Do you know why? Do you know why? It's because they were restricted from seeing information that let them know that they were free. This is why we fight against people trying to keep Bibles out of the hand of people in other countries. Because they need to know that Jesus came and paid for their sin and set them free from the law of sin and death. Yet there are people still trying to restrict Christianity all over this world, even killing our people. We're not persecuted here yet in that way, but I can almost guarantee you within the next few years, the persecutions are going to start to come. Well, we're going to have to probably take up arms and fight back. And I'm talking about Christianity, not just talking about what's going on in the government. I'm talking about Christianity as Christians. They were kept enslaved because their information was being restricted. What the systematically racist Democrats are doing is the same thing when they try to keep our children from learning about the decent American history. I'm not saying that, this is the crazy thing. I'm not saying that all our history is perfect, but the problem is this. History is history. Lying about history does not change the facts. It doesn't change history. Lying about it and changing it, that's what the problem is. We have people believing things that don't exist. We have a lot of people in this society today that hated President Donald J. Trump. They have no idea why they hated this man, other than the fact that the mainstream media lied to them, did not even let them know all the different things that President Donald Trump had been through, nor what he had done in his life for people. They didn't let you know that he was nominated. Obama, he was nominated and received a Nobel Peace Prize. But our president, Donald J. Trump, our former president, was nominated 5 times for the Peace Prize. He was nominated 5 times. But that organization itself leans liberal. But he was nominated 5 times by 3 different people. Once before when he came in, and once after he was in, and for the Abraham Accord and several other things that he did even for the African American people. These few actions that I've shared so far, put through by Biden administration, is just the beginning of the attacks on the Trump supporters, the American people. We're going to take a moment and take a break here on the Black Conservative Voice. You're watching David Colbert on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on CTM News Network, the voice of truth. I told you before, but now you will see the Democrats want to keep you in houses under lock and key, just like they did slaves in slavery days. They are who they say we are here in America, systemic racists. All right, told you. People always accusing everybody else of stuff. My dad used to always say, and some of you watch the program know I say, he said, when you point that finger out at somebody else, you got 1 point of finger out to somebody else, 3 pointing back at you, and 1 to God. See, there's 3 pointing back at you when you point that finger. So that's telling you who the real systemic racists are. Now, this is a little short story I'm going to share with you, and then we're going to go ahead and close. I saw the story on Sean Hannity's show. Now, granted, this story is about Representative Brian Mast, who is a amputee and was in the military. Some of you may remember they had some kind of thing going on him in the media because of comments he made years ago, even before he entered the military or even entered Congress at some points. And they said some bad things. He said some things that he regretted. He apologized for it. But what I tell you, the media don't apologize for anything. They just say whatever the heck they want to say and just let it go. Now, I'm not going to quote you exactly, but Jake Tapper of CNN News insulted Congressman Mass, a double amputee, by saying he believed in democracy when he gave his legs for this country. But when he voted against impeaching President Donald J. Trump, he says, what happened? Why is he no longer representing democracy? Now, granted, Jake Tapper came under fire, but I am calling for CNN. CNN, you need to stand up. I know you're left-wing representatives, but you need to fire Jake Tapper. He may or Tampa, whatever his name is. He should be fired for insulting our country. And I guarantee you that it will happen, because somebody with a loose tongue like that will keep saying things like that to hurt the American people. This man served this country. He gave both his legs in support of our protections here in this country. And a lot of you may ask this question. I'm not saying I'm not this way as well, because I've been this way before. I'm like, what are they talking about protecting liberty? Well, it's just like this. This is why we don't want open borders. Because there are people out here across this world who want you dead. They don't care about the American people. They love to kill you. We even got domestic terrorists in this country called Antifa and BLM, who everybody keeps acting like they're some nice black organization. No, you're not. They're a Marxist organization, also affiliated with the LGBT. We know that. The heads of the organization is LGBT. And to me, they need to disidentify with them as well, because they do not care. The Democrats hate the American people, but the Antifa and BLM hate everybody. They don't like the Democrats, they don't like the Republicans, and they want to come out and they want to destroy and disrupt peaceful demonstrations. And they've already talked about it. They did it on the 6th of January when they disrupted the peaceful protest in front of the Capitol. And everybody's pointing the finger talking about President Trump incited. After all the information that has come out, they still want to keep this freaking impeachment, sham impeachment going. It's already been proven and confessed to by the guy, John Earl, or what is John Earl? I forgot his darn name. He already confessed, the head of Insurgency USA, and also a supporter of BLM and Antifa. He already said that there are several demonstrations already planned, and it was before. And he said he didn't know people would listen to him. He said this way before, at least a couple of weeks before the demonstration was, the peaceful protest was in front of the Capitol. He knew it was going to occur. They were talking about people. So what they do, like a lot of radical groups do, they all sat together, they plan, we're going to go out, we're going to put our red gear on, make sure we look like Trump supporters, and we're going to go in there and we're going to bash the windows and doors at the Capitol. And tell me the Democrat Party wasn't behind it. Yeah. If you believe that, then if they're not behind it, then I have a bridge to sell you here in the middle of Houston, which doesn't exist right now. Because pretty much that's what it was. It was a lie. President Trump had a peaceful rally. He ended it peacefully. The people were peaceful. If you watch the videotapes, the correct videotapes, and not this garbage that mainstream media was constantly showing up in front of you, a moment in that whole day, that one thing where they breached the what's name. There were so many lies going on in that report, you would not believe it. And I'm telling you, American people, if you watch the mainstream media, you might well put a target on your head. I want to be deceived. Because there's so much garbage that goes out there. And I thank God that there are people out here that even at that time carried little cameras in there so that they could show you what actually was going on. We see this, and the cameras going on leading into the Capitol area where the congressman and stuff sat. Everybody was peaceful. There was nothing going on. Nobody was fighting. That was only out there in front. And probably only a disruption for a short time. Because what happened, I guess when the person got shot or whatever, that was murdered pretty much because she was not armed. Even if she was with Antifa or BLM, it still shouldn't have happened that way. I can understand using rubber bullets and stun guns and stuff like that, but lethal force was not necessary even for that situation there. President Trump has talked about beginning a new party to rally his supporters and behind that party. And it's going to be, he's saying it's going to be called the Patriot Party. Now, they want to stop President Trump from running in 2024. I hope he does. And I hope he does start the Patriot Party or something to that effect. Now, I've already seen, because I aspire to Team Trump, I've seen that he's planning on moving back into government once again. So people don't be discouraged. He's coming back. And I believe he's going to come back stronger than ever. I don't know how they're going to get over 100 million votes declassified or set aside. Because I believe when President Trump, if he comes back, it could be a family member, whatever. But if he comes back with the support of the Trump supporters in this country, there are going to be so many people that they can lie all they want to lie. It is going to be so clear, in which it was anyway. He had the most votes running in the second election than any other sitting president in the history of our country, yet he lost. Enough said. Well, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. I hope you join us again for our Friday program. We are expecting to have a special guest. Hopefully you can work all that out, because sometimes we set up guests. That's why I didn't mention the name. But I do ask you, if you would go to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell so that whenever we have a program that comes on, you will be notified. Also, watch our show entitled Capital Talk. Now, I don't know about the other show, but my friend Raina Rose, she's over there, and I'm going to be watching and make sure I know exactly what's going on there, because she's watching for a lot of different areas and a lot of different things. So, once again, please, if you want to advertise with us, our rates are very cheap. So please contact us through our email. If you have a business or whatever, if you are a Trump supporter, says we do support our former administration President Donald J. Trump, because he was a conservative who was for the American people. So we have a right to support who we want to support. We realize that President Biden is the president now, but we will also be watching him as well as what he's doing for the American people or against the American people. And I will keep you abreast of that. But if you are a supporter of our president, we are a supporter as well. So please support and sponsor this program. That's the only way that we move forward, through sponsorships, through business, and through maybe even governmental sponsorship. If you have a campaign you're running for, we can advertise your ads here. We are seen in 37 different states, may be larger than that. Pretty soon we will be on cable TV, and we'll let you know about that. This program in specifically, and we'll let you know about that. And we just look forward to sticking with you and working all the way through till we get to 2022, when we deal with the 2-year congressional election. Once again, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Black Conservative Voice. My name is David Colbert, and I hope you come to join us the next time for our Friday program here on the Black Conservative Voice. Once again, I want to say to you what I always like to say. God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. Until next time, this is David Colbert on the CTM News Network saying, good day and God bless.